In Overwatch, being just a strong hero isn't everything, and there's a lot of different factors that determine how good a hero is. One of the better metrics for a hero has to do with how annoying they are to play against, heroes that mess you up or feel impossible to beat. Let's take a look at the top 10 most annoying heroes in Overwatch 2. If you're looking to beat the heroes in this top 10, or even abuse their strengths on your own, make sure to use the link in the description below for a Game Leap membership. There are tons of courses to help you grind out your favorite heroes. Make sure to check it out and enjoy the video. At number 10, the least annoying out of the rest, is Lifeweaver. His buffs and adjustments to make him more natural at what he does has also made him a lot more boring to deal with. He's a support that pumps out a crazy amount of healing consistently to his whole team, and has mobility and sustainability to keep himself alive while doing it. And just like Mercy and Baptiste with Resurrect and Immortality Field, he's also got a game-breaking type ability with Life Grip that allows you to completely switch up a disadvantage. Most ultimates take a pretty hefty hit for always having one person completely saved, compared to Suzu that only makes you invincible in your current area, or Immortality Field that can still die to damage before getting finished off. You'll have to play a lot safer with your ultimates, having to force a Life Grip first, and it's not the type of ability that's spammed very often. It's the type of ability you have to go out of your way to force. It's only one cooldown, so it's not the biggest annoyance, but when it does come up, it's definitely rough to play against, especially when the Tree of Life comes up, forcing everyone into another game of shooting structures instead of players. That's probably the biggest spike of unfun game design right there. But at least in the spam meta we're in right now, it does actually have a chance of dying, rather than just being a 15-second lockout of the fight where you either kite or lose the sustain battle. Some badly designed ultimates are like that, and Lifeweaver is pretty close to meeting the description. He's quite a bit for a new hero, but the rest of the heroes on this list definitely pack a harder punch. Number 9 goes to Junkrat, who's also on the lighter side of things, but what he does best is making some of the most infuriating stuff happen to you. Firstly, just spamming grenades down random angles, especially on maps with tight chokes and high buildings, can lead to random picks and crazy burst damage that's basically impossible to expect. This literally happened to my friends in Contenders Trials one time, where Lucio got hit by a random grenade bounced off a high building in the final fight of the map, leading to their loss. It happens rarely, but when it does, it can be the most tilting thing, especially during an important fight. Losing control of your character is another thing that's certain to come up later, and Junkrat's Trap is definitely one of the abilities that focuses only on that. Sometimes the trap doesn't work, sometimes it's obvious, and it's no doubt a skilled ability to place down to threaten multiple areas on the map at once, something Junkrat normally can't do very effectively. But getting caught by it in a random spot where you weren't expecting it can really mess you up. It's equally unfun to spend the whole game looking at your feet to avoid getting caught at all in the first place. The one last thing that's annoying to those faced with Junkrat has got to be his concussion mine. Not only will you lose control of your character when you're hit by it, bouncing up into the air to get picked off by other damage, but it's also almost unblockable at close range, leading to a one-shot combo. Usually it's difficult for Junkrat to get this close, but with all the clutter in the game, both visual and audio, and some bugs and footstep sounds sometimes, you can barely hear a menace like Junkrat get close enough from the flank to blast you back to the spawn room without warning. Every one-shot is definitely annoying, unless you have one of your own and you miss. And a one-shot like Junkrat's is weirdly consistent, even more so with aim and tracking. Moving on to number 8, Mei is back to being the bane of tanks, with more consistent damage and slow, which really hurts heroes like Orisa, Junker Queen, and even Winston, who can't block the beam and subsequent slow effect like other heroes can, especially at close range. In Orisa's case, she has to use her Fortify to cleanse the effect and leave, or even push further in, but having that ability forced is always going to be a loss, since it's better used for more important things. Mei's Blizzard and Ice Wall may not be as effective anymore, but having consistent damage and slow on a hero like Mei that can hold space really well allows her to pressure corners as good as tanks can in some cases, even having a similar 100 DPS plus or minus range that most tanks have for their maximum DPS. She may not be the worst when it comes to forcing rage quits ever since she lost her freeze, but enough tank players and even anyone caught in a headshot duel with her will know what I'm talking about. Her icicle projectiles are massive, and you don't want to find out the hard way. For number 7, we've got yet another defensive DPS hero, with Torbjorn still being pretty excruciating to deal with if you're on the wrong heroes. And for Torb, a lot of heroes are the wrong heroes into him. He's a top 3 anti-flank hero, with his turret to punish setups and his overload to keep himself alive, covering both his bases on preventing and surviving the dive. For any heroes who have to destroy the turret without high range damage knows how tedious it is, especially when you're one of the heroes who needs more than one clip to do it. With a 40-meter effective range, it's hard to even take it out without taking damage yourself, even if you actually are able to destroy it at range. As for Torb himself, he also happens to have armor too, and with any help, he's got a pretty fat health pool with overload as well to drain to get the pick. And if you're not focusing him, he'll be blasting his rivets into whatever target is on his backline, which adds an extra annoyance for tank players, most of whom will lose the 1v1 to him in close range. And to add just another insurmountable power spike, playing against Molten Core in overtime is one of the top 5 ultimates you don't want to deal with on the objective. The duration and burst damage it has is crazy compared to others in overtime, and even though it's an environmental zoning type ability, when combined with overtime, it's impossible to deal with. Number 6 goes to Baptiste, who's been incredibly good for a long time now, and you don't get to that spot without being annoying. He's literally been a strong hero since release, and even though he was underrated when he first launched, he almost immediately became a meta pick with the double shield meta and even the Orisa Hog meta that came right before it. He's been a solid pick because he can do so much with just one character. He's literally the perfect all-rounder, except if all-rounding was doing everything perfectly. He's got all sorts of damage, consistent and burst damage, and for healing too, with easy to hit healing and an extra regen burst. Burst is literally in the name of the ability for burst healing, and although it's a good mechanic, pretty healthy for the game, hitting direct shots will do even more healing for Baptiste, giving him even more chances to get way more healing. And on top of all that, he's got all sorts of bonuses: a high magazine capacity for his ammo, vertical mobility to traverse between high grounds, and a way to keep your teammates from dying with your immortality field. It's a pretty bloated kit, and although that's a good thing for Baptiste players, it also means he's got a lot of ways to troll every single type of player. It can be his insane self-sustain with his burst healing and ammo field, it can be his vertical jump that makes it impossible for some heroes to chase him down, and it can certainly be his damage potential, making it hard for the literal damage heroes to beat him in a 1v1, or even survive him entirely. He's got a lot of ways to make it difficult to play into him, but he is just a healer after all, meaning that even though he's so annoying to play into, at least his influence is limited mostly to keeping his team alive and supported, rather than affecting you directly. Baptiste is good for sure, but you don't have to go dive heroes to beat him, even if he's so good at keeping his front line alive. Now onto Bastion, who takes number 5, and though he's only got a few quirks that make him annoying to play into, they apply to almost everyone, and make him a chore to deal with most of the time. His raw damage potential is one thing, and everyone can sympathize with this massive robot box turning a corner and melting you with overpowering damage, but his damage resistance is what really makes it hard to kill him, and also makes you feel like your bullets just aren't doing enough. He's also got armor on top of it as well, making the problem a lot worse. We're lucky the 50 armor healing buff got reverted, because otherwise he would be way too difficult to deal with. His raw damage output and reduction make him naturally tough to play against, and even worse when combined with the supports on this list who can save him from any situation. Utility-wise, his ultimate is alright. There are a lot of ways to block the shots or dodge them, but his grenade, his tactical grenade, is still pretty wild and can make picks happen out of thin air. Getting hit by the grenade is similar to Junkrat's random shots and concussion mine. It really makes it feel like you can't predict how it will bounce and if you're about to randomly get bounced up into the sky or not. For a hero that's all about frontline damage, it's a bit too much to also have a goofy form of backline pressure with a new and almost better concussion mine. Number 4 goes to Echo, who's been a cringe hero alongside Pharah for a long time. Just being a flying character already makes her irksome, and even the fact that she still requires a lot of mechanical skill to master doesn't make it any better. Her damage potential is unhindered, being able to deal consistent poke and at a long range too, and with 2 pure damage abilities for just burst, she's definitely intended to be hitting at least 10,000 damage per 10 minutes. Her mobility is also super flexible, but it's only half of the issue that she can fly out quickly. But the fact that she can stick in the skybox, then drop down next to you with a one-shot combo to your backline is definitely worth raging a bit. The headshot potential on her projectile primary fire isn't even needed to confirm kills, so good echoes make it even worse. Good players should definitely make the game difficult for you, but on a hero like Echo, it's just too much, man. Starting off in the top 3, it's Illari, the final support on the list, and yeah, she has come onto the Overwatch 2 roster with a bang. Once again, she's a hero with a structure, just like Torbjorn and Baptiste. There's a really common theme with some of these annoying heroes, and in her case, the pylon will do immense work when not pressured, compared to just healing over the relatively low turret damage, or just waiting for the immortality field to run out. Destroying them is obviously a high priority, but Illari still has insane damage potential during that time, and her mobility and boop through her outburst ability to still have a lifeline even after the pylon breaks. Outdamaging through the pylon as a solo hero is basically impossible, and even with 2, she'll just be forced out of the area, unlikely to die instantly. She's a bit of an example of power creep for support heroes, where realistically, no support hero should be able to do this much damage without completely trolling their team by doing it, and with her burst healing secondary fire and pylon, it's pretty clear that she is intended to do this insane amount of damage. It's not even exclusively close range damage either, so she can defend herself properly, but long range with headshot potential, making her super strong in almost every situation, both to lay down damage and get picks. Support heroes like these aren't that fun to play into, especially since they can almost never be targeted by tanks, and they win the duels into any flankers trying to take them on. For number 2, finally the tanks are coming in, starting with D.Va, who drives all hitscan and spammy heroes insane. D.Va has a defense matrix and armor durability to mark any DPS, and aggressively too, rather than just being a bulky support that can handle themselves. D.Va will make it her mission to hunt you down and delete all your bullets, which is especially rough for damage heroes with a hefty engage, like a big dash or slide in that immediately gets nullified. D.Va's mobility, durability, and damage mitigation are so high that focusing her seems like a waste. She's basically the police, defending against any type of aggro move, and she doesn't even need to push forward all the time to get value and do her job. She's a good tank, but an ability like Defense Matrix makes her a weird enigma to play against, where if she's good enough, she just won't die, nor will she let you do anything as damage heroes or even dive tanks. And for the number 1 spot, it just has to go to Orisa. She is the one tank on the team, and she is completely indestructible. In most matches, even Sigma won't help you reliably focus her down, meaning you will almost never get any pressure on the objective. Where D.Va is the police, Orisa is like a villain, running around and being unstoppable and dealing a solid amount of damage too, with 2 of the strongest ability types in the game, a Matrix and a Stun. And her Fortify is a different beast. Just like how it used to be shooting over health when it didn't give ult charge, it's just so boring to shoot at the Fortify when it doesn't even feel like you're getting closer to the kill, and it even bolsters the power of her gun for the duration. She's able to be more aggressive. The initial reworks and changes afterwards that she got since Overwatch 2's release has not made her better in terms of actually having an interesting matchup with anyone else. So as it is right now, she bullies other tanks and one-shots everyone else. That's it for the top 10 most annoying heroes right now. Hopefully Roadhog doesn't kick someone off for his rework coming in November and replace them. If you're looking to beat the heroes in this top 10 or even abuse their strengths on your own, make sure to use the link in the description below for a Game Leap membership. There are tons of courses to help you grind out your favorite heroes. That's it for now, and thanks for watching.